Here we are. Okay, we're going to say good evening to everyone. We're going to call to order the Public Health and Safety meeting for December and
November.
oh, that's right. This is November. I'm skipping.
It is going fast.
We're doing our Christmas shopping early. Okay. No. Okay, for November. Thank you. Presently on roll call, we have our Township Manager, Matt Canlin, our Assistant Township Manager, Randy Scheibo. On Zoom, we have our Solicitor, Alex Baum. Sitting presently, we have our Commissioner Nick Skull and Commissioner McPetrick. And I'm Charles Whiting. And we're going to start, okay? Do we have the meeting, the minutes from our last meeting? You have approval of those minutes, please?
The approval, I don't have any changes.
I've seen them, we're good.
We're good? Are we moving right along then? Okay. We will start with our reports from Police Commissioner Chief Block. Chief Block, it's on you.
Good evening. Thank you, Commissioner Whiting. It's a pleasure to present the October 2022 monthly report for the Police Department and related activities. For the month of October 2022, the Police Department responded to 1,355 calls for service, bringing us year-to-date 13,213 calls for service. A year ago, year-to-date at the same time, we were only at 11,910 calls for service. So we're up. We continue to rise with our call volume. Part 1 crimes that were reported and investigated by the Police Department in October of 2022. 1 sexual assault, 1 burglary, which was cleared by an arrest. 1 aggravated assault, which was cleared by an arrest. There were 5 auto thefts and 41 theft offenses, with 15 that were cleared by an arrest. The Part 2 crimes that were reported and investigated by the Police Department in October were 4 public intoxication cases, which were cleared by an arrest, 9 narcotics offenses, with 3 cleared by an arrest, and 26 other crimes committed, and they were all cleared by an arrest. The Patrol Division was very busy. They're following proactive measures. There were 264 vehicle investigations, 47 hazardous traffic violations, 64 non-hazardous traffic violations. 4 parking citations were issued, along with 11 warnings throughout the township. There were 7 homeless contacts, 11 DUI investigations, 1 between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and there were 10 between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. The influx in the DUIs for the month of October was in relation to October 28th. We conducted a DUI checkpoint in the 1100 block of Easton Road. And during that time, there were 1,428 driver contacts that evening. 9 drivers received the field sobriety test, and several of them were arrested for either DUI by alcohol or DUI by drugs. There was also 147 vehicle warnings issued that evening. So that is the reason why our DUI offenses are up. So we were taking the people that were impaired off the highway, and they did a fine job with it. Our traffic and highway safety unit was also busy. They had 17 calls for service, 5 traffic and parking investigations, 1 traffic study, 1 directed patrol, 53 traffic stops and motor vehicle investigations, which resulted in 38 warnings being issued and 13 hazardous moving citations. There were 8 non-hazardous moving citations. And the new bus patrol program with the school district started in October. And for the first 3.5 weeks, there were 84 bus patrol citations issued. So, and that was after a 2-week period where we were doing warnings. So it is working. I've seen the videos, and it's clear and it's convincing that these are actual violations that are occurring. So it's a good thing because we're bringing attention to the residents and the streets of Upper Moreland. Our Detective Bureau was busy for the month of October 2022. They investigated 1 sexual assault, 1 illegal possession of a firearm, 1 narcotics investigation, 1 suspicious vehicle investigation, 1 retail theft investigation, 1 fire investigation, and 1 theft investigation, along with a burglary investigation. They conducted a missing persons investigation and located the individual. There was 1 suicide investigation and 1 investigation with a weapon on the school property, which was resolved, and 2 indecent sexual assaults. It was a very busy month. I'm proud to report as far as our community policing activities. We had our Faith in Blue back on October 8th, 2022, and was held this year at the Willow Grove YMCA, and there were over 25 vendors that attended, and it was a nice turnout that day. We were at Our Lady of Confidence School back on October 13th, where the school asked the officers to come up to do a demonstration and have coffee and breakfast with the children. It was very well received. And the other thing is we had the semi-annual drug take-back that occurred on October 29th. It was at the Giant Food Store, and it was a partnership between the police department and the Police Benevolent Association. And in this event, in addition to taking back the drugs, there were 8 police cars that were filled with food donations. And they were divided up between the Willow Grove Food Pantry, as well as Montgomery County Health and Human Services. In addition to the 8 police cars, with people very generously donating the food, there was also $1,460 in gift card donations that were received during that period. So it was a spectacular day with everybody coming together. Just moving forward, as we enter the holiday season, we want to wish everybody a very safe and happy holiday. And just a couple of tips that the police department wants to put out for our residents. We always seem to have problems with porch pirates this time of the year. So some of the things we would like you to do is don't leave packages unattended on the porch. If you can do that, work with your neighbor to have your neighbor be the shepherd of those packages if you're not around, whether they put them out or they pick them up for you. Use package tracking software that notifies you that your delivery has arrived. You could also ship to a store on Amazon locker location where it's secured and retrieve your package. If you have a security camera or a Ring camera, that's also helpful, and try to require a signature. The other thing is, we know many people are going, not necessarily online, but they'll also be out doing their holiday shopping. We want to recommend that you do not take large sums of cash when you're out shopping. Use the bank credit cards. And when I say use, I stress the bank because it is the bank's credit cards. If something happens, the liability goes back on the bank rather than you losing your cash. Park close to the store, or if you're in a mall, close to the mall entrances in a well-illuminated area. Do not overload yourself when you're leaving the stores with packages. All right, if you're making several purchases, come back and forth, have your key fob or your key for your vehicle readily available so you can get right into your car, you can access your vehicle. Place your packages and shopping bags in the trunk or the cargo area of your vehicle so it's out of sight, out of mind, so nobody's trying to break in your car to steal your packages. And always be aware of your surroundings and always walk with confidence. So if you are being looked at, don't go to somebody else because you're a confident individual. So that concludes the report for the police department for October 2022. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Chief, I hope it'll be in next month's report. My neighbor reported her catalytic converter was sawed out of her car at the train station. And so this is happening in this area. I wonder if that's happening in other places in our township or
It's happening not only in the township, but in the region. There is actually a task force that has been established through the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. We have officers that are working on that task force to try to combat this. Last month in September, there was another resident here at 2 o'clock in the morning, heard something going on under the car, came outside. There was an individual attempting to steal the catalytic converter, and that individual that was committing that crime was also armed with a firearm and pointed at the resident. So this is escalating as we see. That's why the task force is in place. The other thing we need proactively, and we want to engage our state legislators, is to reinforce and have better laws for when people come into the scrap yards. Because right now they're dropping this off, they're getting the money, and they're out. There's no identification process, which there should be, because this is, it's an epidemic proportion with the crimes right now, not only in Upper Moreland, but in the entire 5-county region.
Well, I understand there are no cameras at the train station parking lot either.
There's not.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's on SEPTA. And they have a lot of cameras downtown, I know that.
Right.
The only question I had, the thing that surprises me, the 84 bus patrol citations issued. We had a similar number last month, and it's just continuing. Are we writing the tickets? Are we still warning for these buses, or where are we at?
After the 2-week period where the warnings were sent out, these are the violations that are sent over to us. The videos are watched by the traffic officers and then they sign off on it, and then it goes back to the company. There's civil penalties, and then the notices are sent out to the people that have committed the violations.
Okay, I'm just amazed at these numbers.
I think the numbers are gonna go up. Again, we're in the infantile stages with this program. And it's clear cut, the evidence on the videos. The company has told us they review all the videos. The ones that are questionable, they won't send. They will only send the ones that are clear cut, and the officers certify that.
Okay, a staggering number. I mean, that's a major,
And it's not all on major highways, as we reported when we had the school district meeting. A lot of these are occurring on our residential roadways.
Maybe in our next newsletter to the community, we can put a little brief in there about the safety factor for kids. Because 84 kids could have been killed by vehicles if we had not had those cameras there. It's shocking.
It is.
Okay, any commissioner comments, Chief?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
thank you. I just want to share what happened at Walmart recently. They had an reopening of their remodeled store, and then they, contributed to a couple of our services, to our police and firefighters, and to our and emergency services, and also to our library. So that was a very good event. I am concerned about, the ordinance we passed for signage, and that we still constantly get violations, and wonder about the implementation of this ordinance and how we're making out. I realize it's new, but it doesn't look like anybody's taking it seriously, and I'm concerned about whether people are all that observant about the violations that continue on a regular basis. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comments for Chief Glassman? If not, Chief Glassman.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to present this report for October 2022. The fire department responded to 68 calls for service. 4 of those incidents were what we consider significant. 1 on Merlin Road, 1 on Wyandotte, 1 on the Turnpike, and 1 on Easton Road. There were also 15 EMS QRS calls for a total of 83 calls. Fire permit inspections, 26. We collect $740 in fees. The yearly total is $17,710. Community-oriented activities for the month. It was a big month for us, like Chief Block said. 8 events with about 950 people attending. We were at Faith and Blue, YMCA Halloween for the kiddies, Pumpkins on Parade, Farmstead event, and the giant Pack the Car event. We had fire service training, 42 personnel for 312 hours, and we installed 6 smoke detectors in 3 separate residences. On the emergency management side of the house, all the township managers are going to receive emergency management training next Wednesday on December 7th on Emergency Operations Center, how to staff it, and what the expectations are before we conduct a full-scale exercise in January. And if you'll indulge me, Nate, can you start the video? I want to test out the new system here. I have a video. We had a couple incidents recently that we were lucky enough to capture on video. And I think you'll see the little dog there with the orange. He's the culprit. He's the starter of the fire. Believe it or not, he jumps up onto the stove. This is literally 3 minutes worth of video that we kind of dubbed down a little bit. That's the first incident. And then the second incident, the last several months, I talked about lithium batteries. We had a battery incident right here in Willow Grove, and we were lucky enough to capture some footage of it. Here goes the dog. He's going to jump up. There's a wooden cutting board on top of the stove that he knows he turned the stove on. He knows trouble's coming. Believe it or not, a young lady runs around the corner, starts screaming, goes out, comes back in. You'll see it. I have to say thank you very much to Matt Harker. He took these 3 minutes of video and kind of compressed them a little bit so they're a little more user-friendly for the meeting. But it's interesting what people do when their house is on fire. Even though you're told not to go back in, she came back in looking for her cell phone after the smoke was banked down pretty far. And this is literally 3 minutes worth of video. The smoke was banked down pretty far. And luckily, this wasn't very far from the firehouse. We arrived in 90 seconds. And
You know, Chief, as we're waiting for the fire to start, what's amazing to this is not only what you just mentioned, but how quickly the house fills up with smoke. I mean, you can see, it's almost instantaneously where the smoke just becomes overwhelming.
yeah, so I was kind of sitting on these videos. This actually happened like late in the summer, and I knew we were doing this, and I thought, man, this is literally in 40 years in the business of doing this. I'd never really seen it. Here she comes. They're in the house. Now, mind you, they're in the house.
Scream.
She's screaming to her friend who's in the house as well. Out of the house they go, luckily, but then you'll see her come back in because she forgot her cell phone.
Okay.
By the grace of God, they weren't asleep. You know, all them things that you see in here, here it is. And it happened right here. This is right here. This is Willow Grove, a couple blocks from our firehouse. This is about 7 o'clock at night. By the grace of God, everybody was awake. They had smoke detectors and they got out. But there's nothing longer than 3 minutes here from the, that's all it is. We captured 3 1-minute clips from the camera in the kitchen. This gentleman's replacing a cell phone battery right here in the township, right? The last several months I talked about lithium batteries, right? Whoops. He's got a hot heat pad there. He puts the cell phone down to release the glue that's holding the battery. Again, that's how quick things happen and why it's important that we get there quickly. It's still just incredible that we're getting camera footage of incidents happening right here in the township. These are local homegrown incidents. Luckily, he's smart enough that he knows he's got a bag of sand, believe it or not. That's how he extinguishes the blaze once it comes out of the trash can. He comes back with a bag of sand and dumps it right into the trash can. And by the grace of God, they're right in business right away after this incident occurs. And you'll see the fire come out of the trash can pretty good. Chief Block and I attended a conference, I guess a month or 6 weeks ago, where they actually used Portland cement, truckloads of cement without water to pipe it in to handle a lithium battery storage facility warehouse to mitigate it. This is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. This is 1 o'clock in the afternoon in your local cell phone store repair facility. So I guess he's running, he's going, this is getting big now. He's dialing 911. Luckily, he grabs the sand and comes back. I think he had better thoughts there. He's getting his cell phone too. We realize what our priorities are when trouble's brewing real fast, right? I'm not sure how we survived without cell phones, but we did. But I get my zip drive, I got files on that. Can't make us up.
Yeah, the fire's still burning.
Yeah, he'll come back with sand in a couple seconds here, and that's how the fire is extinguished. Luckily, they just had a smoke condition in that we were able to easily mitigate, but it could have gotten bad fast. There you go. There you go. He's gonna end up smothering it out. So they're local incidents that happen, and that's why time is really critical to the fire department, getting there quickly and handling these incidents. My safety tip for the month? Yeah, it's still smoldering, but he'll get it. We're good, Nate, if you're there. Yeah, he handled it. The safety tips, it's December. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Christmas tree safety. If you have live trees, make sure you water them. Consider positioning when you're setting them up. Don't put them at the bottom of your steps. Move them away from your means of egress in case something goes bad. Be careful with overloaded cords, outlets, and running cords under carpets. Be very careful. As always, if you need anything from the fire department, smoke detectors, advice, anything we can do, do not hesitate to call. and everybody have a happy and healthy holiday season. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Steve. Any commissioner comments for the chief?
I saw this quite a while ago. 3 minutes is amazing. Just think of what you can do in 3 minutes. Walk out, take the trash out, come back, the whole place is under smoke. It's how quickly it happens.
Okay. Public comments.
Good evening. I am commenting to thank our fire department as well as our police department in an incident that occurred just this evening at the Upper Moreland Free Public Library, 6 p.m. Our brand-new fire alarm, well, not so much alarm, but a voice-activated system went on and asked our patrons to please orderly and quietly walk out the door. And this is the first time since I've been working at the library when we've had an alarm of any kind that every single patron was alerted, picked up, their ears and their eyes, looked around, gathered their things, and walked out. We now have that voice-activated system that talks to our patrons. In the past, that alarm would have went off, your standard beeping sound. The patrons ignored it. There was always somebody that was like, oh yeah, it's just a drill. These people took it absolutely seriously. The fire department was there within 2 minutes. They knew already, I guess the alarm notifies them that the cause of the smoke was in the women's restroom. They have a general idea of what happened or may have happened, and they were there. The police came immediately after that, and we were able to get right back to work as the library. Patrons returned and things went on thanks to the good work of the police and the fire department, and for the commissioners having us work out these details where we were able to be invoiced for a piece of this fire alarm. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It was also nice to hear that the fire department arrived first. Thank you.
Yes, they did. We were happy about that
Fighting
too.
crime, chief, we were
Thank
fighting crime, you know?
We're leaving Dunkin' Donuts.
Thank you. Okay. Chief Glassman, once again, thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from our second alarmist and Assistant Chief Ken Davison. Ken?
Thank you, Commissioner. I have 2 months of statistics for you, August and September. Call volume in August was 340 total calls. In September, it was 312 calls. We do continue to see a higher than normal call volume across the department in 2022. We'll watch that in 2023 and see if it continues. The breakdown of calls was pretty much standard. In August, it was 310 medical, 16 motor vehicle collision, 13 fire, and 1 detail. And in September, it was 291 medical, 10 motor vehicle collision, 6 fire, and 5 special service details. Again, the transports to the hospital were pretty much consistent with what we would expect. In August, receiving facility, Jefferson Abington Hospital was 164 of the patients, certainly the lion's share, 6 to Holy Redeemer, 3 to Doylestown, and 3 that went to Jean's Hospital. And in September, 156 to Abington Jefferson, 3 to Holy Redeemer, and 1 actually to the new Children's Hospital in King of Prussia. So if you're not familiar, they opened a very nice state-of-the-art facility several months ago in King of Prussia. And at certain times of day, depending on the traffic flow, this is a good option for us if we have children that need to go to a specialty center and we don't necessarily want to go all the way downtown to either Children's Hospital or St. Christopher's. In the month of October, there was 1 naloxone administration by EMS. I believe that was on October 29th. Staffing report for the month of October. The good news is that in 2022 looked a little bit better than 2021, so we're hoping that we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. Full staffing would be 3,348 hours. Advanced life support actual staffing was 3,144. We had to downgrade that to basic life support 78 hours in the month and downgrade to no status at all, unfortunately 126 hours. But again, if you compare that with 2021, this is one of the first months in a while where the 2022 numbers have been better than the 2021 numbers. We do still have 2 full-time paramedic positions that remain vacant and 2 full-time EMT positions. In October, we applied for a grant through the Pennsylvania Office of the State Fire Commissioner. This is an annual program available to EMS and fire departments across the state. It provides up to $15,000 per fire company and $10,000 per EMS agency. For our 2022-23 submission, we've applied for reimbursement for fuel expenses. It's one of the allowed items, and as was mentioned earlier, fuel expenses are quite high right now, so we're hoping to see some relief there. In October, our staff and directors prepared our 2023 budget for approval in early November. I'm pleased to report it was approved a couple weeks ago. Similar to our 2022 budget, unfortunately, there's an anticipated deficit of approximately $330,000. However, based upon our current projections and some one-time funding, there was an additional fourth tranche of Medicare funding that came as COVID relief in 2022 that was not originally expected. We do look like we will end 2022 slightly above break even in a little bit better situation than we thought. So although we don't ever like passing a deficit budget, our directors were a little bit more comfortable doing a similar budget for 2023. Notable increases, 6% increase to the provider pay scale. Again, one of the things we've talked about is trying to get our provider pay scale up where it needs to be. And unfortunately, we saw a 28% increase in our cost of healthcare insurance. I'm sure the township has seen similar trends with health insurance and benefits. Willow Charitable Funds did award 2 more of the $10,000 paramedic training grants. These grants are going to EMT Emily Cordero and EMT Sebastian Porter. Both members will receive their first installment payment of $2,000 at our December body meeting. They're doing well in school, and again, this is a very valuable program that Willow Charitable Funds has put forth for us, and the ability to give some funding to these students as they go through paramedic training. Second Alarmers leadership, the Montgomery County Ambulance Association are currently working with the Department of Public Safety and the Police Chiefs Association on the upcoming rollout of an additional active shooter, active threat response. The goal from the Department of Public Safety is to have a common plan for unified response across Montgomery County. Members of our tactical EMS team have been assisting with the law enforcement side of this training as part of the role attached to the regional SWAT team. And we're hopeful to see the EMS training plan come out soon and be able to roll that out to our providers as well. And finally, our instructors have been conducting the emergency medical responder course 2 days a week in the protective services program at Eastern Center for Arts and Technology. We're very proud of this accomplishment. We think it's a great step. It's a great course of introduction to EMS and should hopefully get certification in the hands of these students that could give them an entry-level certification looking to come out of the program and go to work in public safety. Whether it's an EMS, law enforcement, or fire services, an EMT certification or an EMS certification will certainly be helpful. And we're hopeful that it'll be a good recruiting tool. So we've worked with Eastern for many years and supported their protective services program. And after several years of planning and with the new instructor in that program this year, we were able to pull off running this 2-day-a-week emergency medical responder course. And so far, we're getting great feedback from the students and the staff and the instructors. So we're glad to see that happen. That's my report. I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Okay. Any commissioner comments for Ken? Any public comments for Ken? Ken, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We have under business, we have no new business or old business. But we have an important item. Matt, would you tell us about the emergency management prospects?
Yeah, so the basic plan is required to be updated every 10 years. So I went through and made all the necessary adjustments. So once we adopt it, I then notify the candidate we have an adopted emergency management plan. That way, if there's any incidents and there's funding, we have adopted plans and we're able to recuperate some of our costs back.
The only thing I would add to that is Chief Glassman informed me that this plan has existed for some time. I think it was first adopted 2010, somewhere in that time range. So really, this is more of a housekeeping exercise where he's updated the rosters, contact information, but the essence of the plan is pretty much the same. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
With this plan, sorry, Charles, I had asked a month or so, maybe 2 months ago at least, to do a tabletop complete training for everybody here. Can you tell me where we are at that?
So next Wednesday, the county is coming out to give everybody training. All the township administration will receive training from the county next Wednesday. And then the date will be selected for a date in January where there will be a tabletop exercise.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Yes, sir.
Thank you everybody for your reports. You know, we've talked constantly, and every year we talk about budgets and the expenses of police, firefighting, emergency management, and just that these are the most important things that we do is provide public safety and health to our communities. And we're not going to be able to afford it. We're just going to be cost. I would like, and I know that, you know, the second alarmist tried to get a grant for some evaluation of an authority, and a grant wasn't funded. So I'm asking this committee to recommend to the board that we exercise, contact a couple communities. I personally would like to keep it small, two townships, Upper Moreland, Lower Moreland, and 2 boroughs, Brennath and Hatboro, and to ask DCED to do the comprehensive study for regionalization, just as an example. This is like, you know, I've had this conversation with everybody in this room several times, and, you know, it's like other players aren't interested in doing it. You know, if we go ahead and did all the legwork, maybe they'll listen, but they'll do it for free. It's my understanding that DCED will do these evaluations for free, but they do need a buy-in, you know, from managers of all the municipalities. So we, you know, ask this committee to recommend it to the board, and then we could direct Matt to reach out to these other communities and ask them to participate in this, to just get serious about it. I mean, you know, we were proactive about, you know, something simple like an animal control officer. And, you know, we had a lot of players interested. We had like 7 municipalities interested, but, you know, nobody wanted to contribute. And if we did all the work, it would be okay. You needed, you know, to have an employee, you need to provide a vehicle, you need to get benefits. So I'd like to make this a real formal thing here and just ask this committee to think about it. You want to put on a committee, on an agenda for next week and see if there's other communities that we want to reach out to, and so that we can formalize this approach.
So, you know, DCED is giving grants for,
It's not giving grants. They'll do this evaluation. Matt and I attended one of the seminars we did in Pittsburgh, was talking about that. And
if they're willing to do it. Our problem is you go to one, and we know that. You go to one and they say, no, we're not really interested. But if you get them all in the same room at the same time, and I think there should be a public official, there should be the township manager in the room when you actually do that. So we hear it firsthand that whether they are or not willing to look into it.
every fire company in the state is asking for volunteers of all kinds. You know, we're 25, or we're 5, what did you call it? 24/5, right? And there's enough energy in here to say, hey, we should be 24/7. Well, that's just costing more and more money. And, you know, they're fighting for volunteers over here. They're fighting for volunteers over here. They got apparatus. We got apparatus. Let's buy some more stuff. Let's budget for nothing. You know, it's just cost prohibitive to continue to do it the same way we're doing it. So I'm asking for this committee to.
You're saying they will actually do the.
Yes. But I mean, they're not gonna participate in if we have.
Do we know what the cost is?
Nothing.
Zero.
Yeah.
Commissioner, if I could add, I think from our standpoint, we think this would be extremely beneficial. The Ambulance Association approached DCED to see if they would do it. Really, it just needs a municipality to make the request. Right. I mean, I think a few would be good, but my understanding is even one municipality making the request. One of my colleagues has done some of this for DCED in other parts of the state, and that's what kind of brought us to go to them and say, hey, could we do it here? And the response that we got was that the request has to come from a municipality. It can't come from an agency. But I'll tell you what, it's been eye-opening in some of the other parts of the state, what they have seen, and a good experience. And speaking on behalf of EMS, we would fully support if that was something the municipality was willing to do, and participate however we can, because I think it would be a good tool.
It is it's a request letter from us.
For 2 years, Ken's been a sounding board for me, you know, and we just talk and say, yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. But
yeah, if it's a letter to them, and I mean.
But I just think we need to have the regional boundaries identified and participation from other, I called electeds in Lower Moreland. I went to their meeting, put it out there, but, I didn't formalize the approach.
I mean, the ones that you're saying are ones that surround us or we're involved in there anyway, mutual aid and
Right.
everything. So that would be the first 4 you would go to.
Right.
I mean, I have no problem if they're doing this process for us.
All right.
Nick, are you in agreement?
I am.
Okay, Matt,
Yeah, we can follow up on it.
can we get that letter generated? Okay, Commissioner Spearing, we'll see what happens. Something to look forward to in the new year. Speaking of new year, our December 19th meeting has been canceled. So, gentlemen, you're gonna have time to spend with your family, okay? And if there's no other business to discuss this time, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.